Welcome to the Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. This podcast is designed to provide momentum in our God-given roles of leadership as we partner together to equip today's Christian leaders for tomorrow's opportunities. Whether you're a pastor, youth leader, ministry volunteer, parent, or student, we want to be your go-to and most trusted resource for equipping and encouragement when it comes to your ministry and leadership influence. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. My name's Eric Miller, and I'll be your host for today's conversation with none other than, drumroll please, Joel Firebaugh. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man.
I love that you're here. I love this kind of theme we've got going. We're at Momentum Youth Conference this week. We're recording a whole bunch of episodes with our main session speakers. So A, thank you for coming to speak at Youth Conference this year. B, thank you for being willing to hop on the podcast and have a conversation with us. And Joel, we'll just tell the audience, full disclosure, I didn't even tell you what we were going to talk about on the podcast today.
And that excites me. I didn't tell you what I'm going to talk about on the podcast.
That's
so yeah.
Well, that could go. Let's be careful here because we're doing the podcast before you speak main session. So maybe
that's true. There's still time.
I should edit some of these questions I'm going to ask you now in real time. I'm teasing. I love it, dude. I love that you're the lead youth pastor at Crossroads Church in Cincinnati, Ohio. You're like a coffee snob, so we can connect on that. How long have you been married to Anna? How long have you guys been married?
We just celebrated 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 8
Fun.
years.
And you were at Indiana Wesleyan, and you went to school here.
And I'm at Indiana Wesleyan, and I went to school at Indiana Wesleyan, which everyone knows. If you went here, it's IWU.
There you go.
Yeah. If anyone calls it IWU, you just know.
You're like, oh, you're not from around here.
From around here. Yeah. You shouldn't even go here.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Joel, I thought it'd be fun because you're a youth pastor. Let's just go like head first into youth pastor world.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. So that means none other than like rapid fire questions.
It's easy to get lost in that world. All right.
I'm good with it.
All right.
And we have a few
it's a black hole world.
That are a little
yeah, all right, let's go.
All right.
I can't wait.
So I think I'm projecting right now. This will be a part of our season 3. We'll launch this one in the fall. We're trying really hard. Our primary audience for this episode and most of our podcast, we think, is pastors and parents, right?
Great.
That's who we aim to talk to. A ton of student pastors listen to this. That's student pastors is who often will send us questions. So if you're listening right now and you're like, I've always wanted to send in a question for Eric or Jeff or somebody to answer, send it in to us, info@buildmomentum.org, shameless plug. Right now, what I want to do...
I'm going to send in some questions after this.
You probably are.
Hard ones.
You probably are.
Just a little payback.
But I think that we're going to get more students now that we're like here in the common area and students are walking past. I've been saying to other speakers, it feels a little bit like we're sitting in the zoo because kids will come and like press their face up against the window and like, who's in there? Like, it's fun. So, full youth ministry. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
First one's easy one. Favorite movie of all time?
It's not as easy as you think.
It's
such a big...
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
That's mine.
That's a great answer, actually. I wish I would have thought of it. So someone asked me this the other day, and I think I've lost sleep multiple nights on this.
Okay.
Because for years, and you're going to judge me for this, but for years my answer was it was Hot Rod was my answer.
Nice.
For years. But recently, it's been a decade since I've seen that movie. So I don't know if I can stamp my approval as much on it. Yeah. So I'll stick with it for theme.
All right. Sometimes I go Napoleon Dynamite just to get like a read on people. Yeah.
Today, the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer comes out, and those maybe by the time this is out, those will be my favorite movies.
I just saw Spider-Man Across the Universe.
How was it? First one was
super
so good.
Dope. It was so good.
Maybe that'll be my favorite.
My daughter, who's 4, she was probably a little young. Maybe I shouldn't have taken her. But my son loved it.
Good to know.
All right. Go to coffee shop and drink of choice.
Great question. So my you're going to judge all my answers for this.
We are. That's the whole goal.
In general, when it comes to coffee, I like black coffee.
My guy.
And my whole team judges me because they'll even be like, we'll be at a camp in a long week, and they'll be like, what do you want? Iced caramel. It's just, I want a black coffee.
Yes.
And however, what you're going to judge me on is if I'm at home, Folgers black coffee.
Really?
I love it. It's what my mom made, so I don't know if that's why.
Okay. It's like sentimental.
Yeah, like we'll go to Costco and I'll get the huge thing of Folgers coffee. However, there's a coffee shop in Cincinnati called Proud Hound. That's my favorite. That's my go-to there. But yeah.
Very fun. See, I'm like snob. I just went full in.
Yeah.
Like full send trade.
So Folgers, you just lost a ton of respect for me.
I can appreciate.
Okay.
It's economically friendly.
It is
good on the ministry budget.
Good, man. I'm going to bring you a couple Folgers.
I'm not going there. Okay.
I'm going to go to Meijer and buy some I'm going to brew you a pot right. I'm going to bring it to session tonight.
All right. Game on. Best book you've read lately.
Oh, that's a great one. So there was a book called Misreading Scripture Through Western Eyes. It is not, like, if you're a student listening, I don't think necessarily you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to dig into that. But I realized, I went to school and I went to seminary, and I'm still reading the Bible just through how I grew up and my Western eyes. And it was eye-opening. So I think it wasn't necessarily my sit-down fun read of the year, but it was by far my most eye-opening, like, life-shifting book I read of the year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or Popeyes?
Chick-fil-A. Well, wait.
Chicken sandwich.
Yes.
Based on the chicken sandwich. Chick-fil-A or Popeyes?
I don't get to explain. If I don't get to explain, still, Popeyes chicken sandwich. That being said, I've had 2 ever. They were life-changing.
Yes.
And I've had a bajillion Chick-fil-A, and they were consistent. So Popeyes, over time, it's going to have to keep the course.
Okay.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
If you're blindfolding me and I'm going taste alone, I'm going Joel, some people are gonna like unsubscribe from the podcast probably because we're
basically putting down Christianity.
We're dunking on Chick-fil-A. Like, how do you not? I don't know. So yeah, but
I'm assuming though you have not tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich, but
I would agree.
Chick-fil-A is wonderful. It's a gift to this earth, but Popeyes chicken sandwich is amazing.
There you go.
But will it hold the test?
I love it. I'm trying not to like reveal my biases in how I answer these.
Oh, you're doing a horrible job.
Or ask these, yeah, for sure. All right, so next one. This is a really bad one. Apple versus the world. While I have my Mac in front of me.
What's the question?
Apple or the world? Anything else other than Apple? This is a terrible one, but like.
I hear you.
Android,
Okay.
Microsoft.
It's
Galaxy.
It's Apple. It is Apple. I'm trying to think if there is something I use outside of an Apple product that I would stamp my name on and be like, this is it. I even use the AirPods, man.
I know.
It's Apple.
I've tried to like slowly move our staff even into the like world of Macs, and they're like some of our team that we've like gotten MacBooks. They're like, this is life changing. They're like, I'm so much more productive now.
It is.
I can text on my computer.
I've got one thing that would beat it. Google Maps.
Okay.
I'm not an Apple Maps guy.
That's fair.
In fact, I would go against that. I would riot against Apple Maps.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Song that lives rent free in your mind right now. Careful.
What song have I been singing this week? So my wife makes fun of me because, not for what you think, I don't know any songs.
Okay.
Ever. I don't know lyrics. I don't know the names. So I also grew up in a very Christian world bubble.
Yeah.
So my first concert that was like a non-Christian concert, I was shocked that there wasn't words on the screen.
Dude, first concert you ever went to is literally the next question.
Amy Grant.
Whoa!
It was awesome. Then I went to a lot of Newsboys. Chris Rice, dude. He was in there. But a song that lives rent free is always just stuff like I'll go to my wife. I'll be like, you know, a song that's like, and she'll be like, no, nobody knows that song.
Yeah.
So I can't even.
I don't know the words.
I can't even give you one.
Oh, that's so fun.
What's the Maverick City one that we've been singing all week? I can't even.
Prodigals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, just very small parts until I'm in front of a screen. It's horrible.
I love it.
I'm a horrible human being.
That's awesome.
Any musician out there is just like, this guy's dead.
All right, now we'll see how horrible of a human being you are. Is Taylor Swift overrated?
No.
Okay.
Now, is she a musician? No, she's a businesswoman.
There you
and
go.
She's an unbelievable businesswoman. And she's not overrated. She's one of the best in the world at it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I can tell he judged me for that. Taylor Swift is a businesswoman.
It's been so funny how almost every speaker at Momentum Youth Conference has brought up Taylor Swift, and there's no common tie to any of them. So no pressure, but tonight you got to talk about Taylor Swift
easily
at some point.
In fact, 15 minutes on just a Taylor Swift rant.
It like to the point where Jordan Rayner spoke this morning, and the students booed him when he said, basically dunked on Taylor and like she's overrated because Mark Artrip started the week off talking about Taylor and he said she was overrated. And so,
well, I'm going to make it clear tonight then, and I'm going to let students know that Taylor Swift is underrated.
There you go.
Not enough people are at her concerts.
I love it.
They need to be bigger.
Very fun. All right, favorite season and why? Spring, summer, winter, fall.
Yeah, favorite season is fall. I'm a Midwesterner.
There you go.
And we don't really get a spring, really, right?
Yeah.
And winter is from the devil himself.
Brutal.
And so,
amen.
Summer and fall, I love me some summer, but fall, some cider and some donuts.
Nice. Some college football.
Big college football fan, yeah.
There you go.
Right, who's your team?
Notre Dame.
Is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who's your team?
I gotta go. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Like that's.
But you grew up in Texas.
Well, so born in Columbus till second grade. Already, you know how many deep-rootedness you can shove into a second grader about love for Ohio State football.
That's a lot of indoctrination.
Then moved to Houston until my junior year of high school.
Okay, so you cheer for the team that shall remain nameless.
The team that should remain.
All right. Let me ask you a question, Joel.
Yes.
Why does it take two people to spell a four-letter state?
Ohio?
O-H.
I-O?
Why does it take two people to spell a four-letter state? I don't understand.
What are you asking?
Where does this come from?
Are you talking about like the symbol?
No, I'm talking about like the thing. Like when people go into an auditorium and they go OH, and then somebody on the other side of the auditorium goes, they can't figure it out. I'm a Notre Dame fan because I pride myself in rooting for academics and education. How many NFL players can go from Notre Dame and be successful NFL players and have a career afterwards?
Listen, we would have a whole nother podcast.
I know we could. How many Ohio State players like can't even graduate college because they have to drop out because they spent all their money on tattoos?
Listen, it was one time, right. And so it's interesting. We're not talking about this, but I've shifted actually to I just recently have become an NFL fan.
Nice.
My whole life I haven't been.
Bengals.
It's the Bengals, but Cincinnati. What's so interesting? There's not actually as many Ohio State fans there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of UK. There's a lot of Cincinnati fans, and so
that makes sense.
I'm just like one of those people that I don't like. A lot of people like being the black sheep. Mm-hmm. I lived in Michigan for 8 years. I held my secret deep that I was an Ohio State fan.
Fun.
I want to do what everyone's doing, and so everyone's a Bengals fan. So I said, I will. Is there room on the bandwagon for me? And there was room for thousands of us. So
I do like Joe Burrow. He's
an attractive human.
Yeah, he's legit. He's fun. Yeah. All right. Every Ohio State fan listening, I'll just say this. I'll concede.
Oh, you brought us right back, didn't you?
They're gonna go national championships, and you got that. I'll give you that.
Over Notre Dame, yeah.
Over Notre Dame.
Great.
All right. There you go. We'll end on that.
You have a touchdown, Jesus, though.
Yeah,
that's fun.
All right. You like magic. You like doing magic tricks,
Yeah,
right?
I do.
Go-to magic trick.
Oh, it's a card trick.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to know it?
I do want to know it.
You got deck cards?
I don't. We have a bunch of podcast stickers.
I should just make up some incredible card trick then that I never could do.
You could say right now because
we know the D'Angelo juggling office thing. Like, yeah.
While there is a video component to this, most people listen on audio. But you could say like, I cut my wife in half one time and put her back together. No one would know. No one would know.
I have I say I like magic tricks. I've got about 5 tricks I know total.
Okay.
That I learned, I think, in high school that I break out. This is fun. Back to youth ministry.
Yes.
The only time I break out is every year on the bus ride to and from camp.
Nice.
And I very rarely in between ever do these magic tricks.
And you practice for like the 6 months leading up to that.
Yeah, I'm just spending the time practicing.
Oh, fun.
They're not that impressive, but you're so bored on a bus ride. They're pretty impressive. Yeah.
Fun. That's very fun. All right. A couple more. We're going to get a little more in-depth here.
In-depth and favorite magic trick?
With rapid-fire questions. Life verse or favorite verse?
Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who's able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine is my life verse. Nice. My favorite verse, I that's my go-to, and that's one that I pray over when I speak at a camp. I pray over, people around me, the ministry I'm a part of. But
yeah.
My favorite verse, I think, actually would be the centric John 14:6. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. It's just central gospel, simplified, and if I could only give one verse to someone, it'd probably be that one. But
Fun.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Biggest ministry pet peeve.
Oh gosh.
Ministry pet peeve.
Dude, I have so
as a youth
many.
pastor.
I'm such a horrible human that I just have so many. Before I tell you this one, I want to tell you how horrible of a human I am. The camp our students just went to, we just do one with our church, and after the speakers all spoke, this is horrible now being a speaker at this one. My wife and I, we rated them. We put them in a line and said, and we, of course, this is probably a ministry pet peeve that I'm guilty of. It was under the lens of feedback.
Okay.
Like for next, but we just really wanted to know what each other thought. Like, yeah. That shows how horrible of a human I am. So that's the intro into ministry pet peeves.
Buddy, I think as the lead pastor at Crossroads Church, you can call that like work. You're
I'm not the lead pastor, a lead student.
Lead student pastor. Okay, sure. But like if it's your youth camp for Crossroads.
But I'm also
like,
letting you into my brokenness
okay,
that like
fair.
I wanted to do it.
Like okay, there
I got pleasure from
there
doing
you go.
it.
Fun.
And
right.
Anyway,
well, I won't ask any more questions.
Well, ministry pet peeves though, there's so many.
Yeah.
My heart is for lost people in general, but when I think of the next generation, people that they didn't have the same upbringing. I grew up with amazing parents in the church. There are so many people out there that's not their case.
Right.
And so I think one of my biggest ministry pet peeve, if we're getting real, is when Christ followers, Christians, put biblical rules or followings, which are true and Christians should be held accountable, onto people far from God and push them further away than they ever could. Yeah,
that's a really good one.
I think that happens far too often, and I don't love it.
As a longtime student ministry pastor myself, I often say that my biggest ministry pet peeve is when adults in the church tell the youth, "You're the church of tomorrow," and I'm like, they're literally they're with you now. Like I don't know that I could go on and
Another
on.
one when adults stand creepily at the back of the student room instead of sitting with some students.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're a youth pastor listening, don't be that guy.
That. Yeah. Get your adults mixed in with everybody.
That's great.
All right. Biggest ministry win. Last one.
Biggest ministry win. I don't know, man. I've gotten to see God do a lot, which has been really cool. If we're talking to youth pastors, I think finding a wife that gets ministry and like being willing to be married to a youth pastor is still, a lot of people are like, I thought that was just the first phase of marriage. Like just talk ministry win, like that would be that. I guess that'd be to students too, as you seek someone, guy or girl,
there you go, that
you're wanting to do ministry with. I've seen too many friends, unfortunately, walk away from what at one time they claimed to be a calling because of the just not upfront conversations they had with the spouse. So doing ministry alongside of Anna has been amazing ministry win.
Cool. So, very cool. All right. Joel, thanks for humoring my youth pastor game rapid fire.
Yeah, it was good. I have a feeling there was a list of 20 more that didn't make the cut that your team said, Eric, you can't ask that.
Actually,
offline.
They all helped me come up with most of these earlier. So yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. All right. Let's talk Momentum Youth Conference. Joel, you said you grew up in Ohio in the Columbus area, and then you moved to Texas. How did you get connected to Youth Conference? Because one of the things we've been bragging on this week is that 3 of our speakers main session grew up here. So we're kind of like trying to leverage that with the students and hey, like, you could be a main session speaker too if, you followed you. The fun thing even is like the whole band, the Momentum band this year is all former students. So opening night, like Mark Archer, everybody on stage except for Jeff Bogue, who's our president of Momentum and is on the podcast all the time. Jeff grew up being a youth pastor. He never actually came as a student. So he was the only exception, but he's like, I brought students for like my whole ministry career.
You let him slide.
Yeah.
You let us slide.
Like, yeah, okay, it's okay.
Fine.
Yeah. You can come talk.
Yeah. I, junior year of high school, moved back from Texas to Ohio, and even though I like the team, the state is still Ohio.
All right, fair.
It's Ohio. Which you live in Ohio now.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. Lord, don't send me to Africa. I mean Ohio.
That's right. That's where you went. So I moved back, and I was in I call it searching phase. If the buzzword right now would be seeking phase. I was a Christian, but still searching and seeking in many ways. And my parents had this rule that they were going to force my hand if we're under the roof to go on a mission trip. I know many churches now call it a go trip or an outreach trip, but just a mission trip. And so they said it had to be overseas. Now, overseas scared me. This is just me being completely real.
Sure.
And so I'm a little, I was a little bit of a, what's the word, conniving?
There you go.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
Conniving. And so I knew they had gone on a trip called Operation Barnabas.
Yep.
And led with a guy named Ed Lewis. Can you do an Ed Lewis impression?
What's his, oh, you foul dude? I don't know.
That was honestly the worst Ed Lewis impression.
I think he does say you foul dude.
He does.
He's here this week. He's at youth conference. We brought him back.
I need him to be in here right now.
Yeah.
So I knew this one though was in States, Operation Barnabas, and so I was like, if I pull the heartstrings on their trip, maybe they'll let me go on this. And they said, okay, that can be your trip. So I go on this Operation Barnabas, just searching. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
All I knew going in was I'm okay with Jesus. That's fine. And I'm not going into ministry because my dad is a pastor, and I hated that. And I was embarrassed by that. Later would identify as being embarrassed by the gospel, but at the time, that's just where I was at. So I go on this trip, and it's life-changing. Life-changing. One of the first times I've had an entire summer of just continually be reminded, outside of yourself, I had an hour with God every day. I probably had more time alone with God on that trip than I had at that point in my life. Combined.
Wow.
And one of the things they did on this trip was they said, we're going to go to a week of camp. Now, at the week of camp, Eric, and you can cut me off at any time.
You're good.
Wasn't a camp, which was exciting when I found I was on a college campus and was conference-y. I was expecting in cabins. But I was excited because they said we could have our phone back because you couldn't have your phone the entire time.
Yep.
Now, I actually had snuck my phone onto Operation Barnabas.
Of course you did.
Yep. There's
the conniving.
But I'd been convicted day 3 or 4 of it. So I put it in my bag and turned it off. So I get to Momentum and I open up my bag and I'm so excited because my phone's in there and I'd actually turned it off and I didn't have to get it from a leader. And somehow, some way, it had ended up in a sock filled with shampoo and was just completely broken. Man. It's a Verizon Voyager.
Wow.
Yeah, so iPhone probably would nowadays wipe that off. It's good to go. This thing was gone. So now I've got a week at camp too.
Oh man,
still no phone, and they throw me with a random student ministry, which at the time the church is called Grace Fellowship, in Pickerington, Ohio. Shout out. And I go with youth pastor Drew, and at this point I just don't even know what's happening. I don't have my phone. I'm with people I don't know, and I hear speakers bring the message that I've been trying to live out all summer long on Barnabas into compelling ways. And I had heard worship songs that my church didn't sing that were relevant to kind of the music I was listening to. And this life transformed me in the last day. You could tell me who it is, actually. I don't remember her name. She was missionary overseas.
Barb Wooler.
Yes, that's who it was.
Wow.
Barb Wooler
spoke
and said, hey, maybe you're being called to full-time vocational ministry. There was no band or music behind her. She was when she walked off, she was if you want it, just come up here and fill out this form. And it was one of those things that I just saw. My body was just walking, and I was just wait, I've said no. And I filled out this form.
Wow.
And it sounds so dumb. I don't think anybody reached out to me. I don't know.
Oh boy.
You weren't running it yet, but but for me, that filling out of the form was solidified. I'm into ministry. Wow. So I went back to Momentum another year, and I went on Operation Barnabas International. But late bloomer, but highly impacted by Momentum.
So what's cool for our listeners? Let me help connect some dots here. Operation Barnabas is now called Momentum Travel Teams. We just this year celebrated our 50th anniversary of those trips.
50?
50 years. So
Ed Lewis was 40 when it started? Or
I like to say Ed is our former president of Momentum Ministry Partners. Jeff Bogue is now our new president. I like to say you don't meet Ed, you experience him. He's here. Jeff
he probably knows everybody's name here.
Oh, everybody probably. Yeah, it's so fun to see the people who've gone before us that have invested in us, that have paved a way for the gospel to make sense to us, that have even modeled what leading and what being a disciple of Jesus and what being a pastor and ministry leader looks like. And so it's fun for me now in this role to get to come back and like, I like to say I'm like running the family business. That's kind of how it feels. So for you, like in that scenario where like you have that experience on a travel team, on Operation Barnabas, the old name, literally right behind us is the Momentum travel team table.
Sign up for a Momentum travel team.
And there's right now the travel team director and one of this year's leaders and 5 students.
Someone is trying to flip a marker and land it on its head.
That's the sports.
And they're highly
table.
Disappointed. Oh, that's the sports sign up. Behind it.
That's the sports tournament sign up table. Behind there is where But I'm like, I love that because like what you're talking about is all of those things are still true to this day of what your experience is on a travel team. You get an hour alone with God. You get to go experience like all of the different ministry options. It's training and equipping. It's helping you understand. And even if you're not going to be a pastor, but how do you have the spiritual gifts that God has given to you the passions that you have, the talents and abilities, how do you implement those and serve and point people to Jesus, serve in your local church? It's amazing to see.
It's amazing. And so I know this is some people's worst nightmare, but for me, this was my dream on the trip. For one, I mean, even as a student, a high school, you have so much expectations on you. Like so much with school and sports and working and you're just away. You don't have your phone and you don't even know the day's schedule. Again, that's some people's worst nightmare, but you don't know it until you. Oh yeah, I loved it because it was just like. So you may know some of this. I don't know, but I loved it. I went on this thing that truly was like I am here to grow in my faith and get connected. And you're right. It's not necessarily for me. It did connect me to full-time ministry, but that's not necessarily the goal.
Correct.
Plenty of my friends that went on that trip are to this day businessmen and businesswomen and are in organizations and still on mission just as much, if not in a harder situation than me.
And isn't it funny how like, because I went 25 years ago, I was on the 25th anniversary team, and now this summer we're celebrating. I know, do the math. I'm 41. I'll save you the trouble.
You look great though.
But the fun part is that is like to this day, I'm still friends with most of the people on that team.
Wow.
25 years ago, over half of them are still serving Jesus and engaged in their local church. Some of them are youth pastors. Some of them I saw last week at Access Conference. Some of them
I was going to say, I'm sure some are here. Yeah, unreal.
3 of them are here this week and leading stuff with Momentum Youth Conference. So like the impact, the significance of that is amazing. But Joel, what I want to talk about is like what you just said of like, that's the beauty of Momentum Youth Conference and how we're different from a camp. Because we don't want like students to get.
I was ready for a camp.
Here.
I was like, I'd seen Parent Trap. Yeah, that's what I was ready for. Yeah,
yeah, and yet we want to partner with a local church.
That's right.
So everything we do at Momentum Youth Conference is with the local church in mind, and so maybe just maybe that's why. Sorry, Drew, but maybe that's why you didn't hear back from them because it was on the youth pastor to follow up with you.
Probably was, and he was like, "That's not my kid." Yeah. I was just placed in his youth group for the week.
Oh man, but I love that because like our passion and goal is we want to share with the gospel with students and help. We say Jesus makes sense to them, but we're unapologetic about giving a call into full-time vocational ministry, and we give a call into being a marketplace, a missional marketplace leader, and so that in theory should encompass everybody in the audience, and so we're helping equip them and train them up. So. Joel, let's talk a little bit about like who are some of the people that have invested in you? Who are those people who've discipled you? The Ed Lewises of the world, right? But like that you've gotten time with over the years.
Yeah, it's really cool because I have to speak Taylor Swift language. I have eras.
Nice, well done.
So my early eras, there was a guy named Brian who was my Young Life leader. And Ben Riggs, and they were my 2 Young Life leaders, and they poured everything into me. It's funny now because they were college students at Ohio State University. And, but in my head as a high schooler, they might as well have been 30 years older than me. You know, they were like 3 years older than me. And like, they were just older friends really, but it explains the time too, but they poured everything into me. And it's just cool to see like that moment where I said, yeah, I'm going to step into vocational ministry. There was people that had gone before that. And then this is crucial. There's people that had to go after that of the discipleship process. Yep. And so then you go on Operation Barnabas, and I had Matt Wheeler as my leader, and he was incredible. And then right after that, Dave Nicodemus would be one of those. A guy that not only led our Operation Barnabas International trip, but then I did an internship under and for an entire summer.
Fun.
And then for years we still have a Facebook group because that's our era, you know, that has it, but that would have us back to their house. And it was, what's cool is I would say it was Dave and Carly. Yep. Carly Nicodemus, if you guys don't know her, is incredible. And
everyone knows her because she's our registrar for all of the
well, they should know her. Yes. So that was even cool too, because I mean, with Dave more one-on-one, but that family, the Nicodemus family, in many ways is part of that. And then I had college professors, and then I had, when I moved into my first youth pastor job, some key mentors. So different people at different eras, and some have crossed through, but important.
Cool. So I know you're passionate about developing leaders and discipleship. Who are some people now that you're intentionally investing in, and kind of help share the strategic thinking maybe even behind that, or what's your thought process that goes into it?
I have those, and I will share those. Can I share a cool weird win?
Yeah, sure.
Too? So it's so random, but so the church I was at before the church I'm at right now, there was a guy who signed up for something. I needed help tearing down a youth ministry event, as we all do. God bless the volunteers that help us tear down. Got an email from a guy, Spider Monkey at something, and he was like, I'll come, whatever. It's a man that was enough to be around church, but wasn't by no means a following Jesus. And he became a volunteer, who became a leader, who became an intern under me. Anyway, he's here now as Grace Fellowship's high school youth pastor. His name's Josh Nemi.
Really?
Yeah. And
I just met him the other day.
Did you? Yeah. That's
he's
a man
stud,
that I poured my life and soul into for, again, talk about eras. That was once I was in vocational ministry.
That's so cool.
And I have many of those actually that are at different places, but that is like a cool, weird full circle moment.
Wow, yeah, it is.
Of just a guy that I've got to do that with. So,
at the church that took you to Momentum Youth Conference on a whim. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm like dumbfounded right now.
So my mission, everyone's is different, so I hope people hear this, and you can cut it from the podcast if you don't think it's correct, but my mission, I only have a certain brain space to really pour my life into certain people. So I try to take on between 3 and 5 at the same time. And for my barrier, I know it's not everybody's, but my barrier is people that have signed up to go into full-time ministry.
Cool.
So that's been my barrier.
Yeah.
So some of those 3 to 5 are now in it.
Yep.
And some are on that path of like, I want to do this, but don't know how yet.
I love it.
And so anyway.
Yeah.
So.
We won't cut that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be your barrier.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah.
And
different people have different models and ideas on that. Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up with this. What's one thing that you guys are doing at Crossroads that you feel like is super unique, where you see God at work? Maybe something you want to share about, like a fresh model that somebody else could like help think through, or
Great. There's a couple things, but one thing that has changed that I think no matter the size of your youth ministry, or if you've got a volunteer staff or full-time, you can apply. This changed everything. Was we made our conference, so if you go to youth ministry conference, wherever you go, we made it start the year instead of end the year. It changed everything. So we switched it physically on the calendar. It's the first thing we do. We switched it philosophically. We made sure the events come after it, because a lot of times in youth ministry, we sit down and we make the calendar. We've got all this energy, and it all leads us to camp.
Yep.
And camp is amazing, or camper conference, and it's incredible, and life change happens. And then we say, we'll see you in 3 months.
Right.
And so that philosophical change for us. In fact, we do something mid-year called the Big Night, which is a huge, huge outreach event. Huge. And we do that every year. And the whole goal of it is to tell people about our camper conference that's going to start the year. Like, so, but then, anyway. So I think if you're listening and you're a youth pastor, that philosophical shift, but it's work. because the rest of the church, it's not how they roll. It ends the year.
Yeah.
So you got to go kind of counterculture there, and it will change a lot of things, I believe.
Joel, I think that's so fascinating that you say that, because there are specific student ministries that come to Momentum Youth Conference, and I know that they use it as like the celebration of the end of their year, where this week is on the schedule, like the third week of July. So there are youth ministries that lead into youth conference. That's their mindset. Hey, it's the last event of our school year. There's others. When I was a youth pastor, I did that. It was the beginning of the year. And so it was like, hey, we're going to youth conference, and that's part of the reason our website is Build Momentum, because we want to help you build momentum in your student ministry. Like, so what you just said is what I would encourage every youth pastor to think through. But and it doesn't have to be Momentum Youth Conference, but find your thing and build off of it. It should be. Thank you for saying that. We'll give you your check later. But for sure, like that stuff, when you learn how to like leverage those events and build off of it, man, that's a big deal.
Well, even I'll give you one. This is for free. This is the follow-up one on here. So like, this is, if I had a second thing that you could apply to, it relates right into it. We started something called Influencers. You can hate or love the name, and you can call it whatever you want. But it's a student leadership program.
Yep.
Ours starts after our conference. So we promote it at the conference.
Yep.
Our go trips, we call our mission trips go trips. Sign up start after our conference. It starts the year.
Yes.
So you sign up even as a leader, camp to school year.
Yeah.
Like conference to school year is our thing. So I actually truly believe there's amazing student ministries out there that do have it as an ending the year thing. I would just say make sure you're still utilizing that and seizing that momentum. But simple shift could change a lot.
I love it. Joel, thank you for your time. Thank you for being a part of this conversation and letting me
honored, man.
Push your buttons a little bit. So cool. All right. I'm still not a Swiftie, so.
Well, nor an Ohio State fan. I don't even know how they give your microphone, but that's okay.
Thank you so much to our listeners for tuning into this episode. Check out Joel's main session on our YouTube channel. We'll link to it here in the podcast notes. Thanks for tuning into another episode.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope you found it to be valuable. And if you did, would you share it with someone else in your network who might enjoy it? Also, would you please go on and subscribe, rate, and review it? That way you don't miss any more, and somebody else will be able to find it too. Also, because we want to be your trusted resource, if you have a question or topic that you would like us to discuss on an upcoming episode, send that to us via email to info@buildmomentum.org, or you can send us a DM on any of our social media platforms. You can find us there at Momentum Ministry Partners. Also, if you need more information on our ministry, be sure to check out our website at buildmomentum.org. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you next time.